Time.
Okay. We do roll call, Sheila.
Emily Garrett,
Here.
Matthew Peterson,
Present.
Angela Blakey,
Present.
Joanne Green,
Present.
Skip Alter,
Present.
Cindy Todd.
Can I get a motion to excuse Cindy Connor from tonight's?
I move that we excuse Cindy O'Connor from tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blakey,
Aye.
Joanne Green,
Aye.
Skip Alter,
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye. The purpose of the North Platte Public School District is to prepare all students to be productive, responsible citizens in a safe, caring, and supportive learning environment. Our direction is to prepare every student for success through high-quality educational programs delivered by effective educators who use innovative, research-based strategies in a safe, supportive environment in collaboration with families, businesses, and community members. The Nebraska's Open Meeting Act legislates the members by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is posted over here in our boardroom. If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We get to start with a special presentation, Mr. Spencer.
Good evening, North Platte School Board. We have the honor tonight of recognizing not just 2, but 3 Bulldogs of the Month. We have one joining us from last month. So this month's Bulldogs of the Month are L.A. Ramsey and R.J. Stefka. And we'll also start off tonight with recognizing River Johnston from last month. So River.
Hello, I am River Johnston. I'm Brian and Amy Johnston are my parents here tonight. I am I've played basketball 4 years of high school. I've also played golf all 4 years of high school, as well as National Honor Society that I've been an active member in. I currently, I'm on the golf team now, but I've also helped with other projects around the school like Willie's, water, presentation or documentary, as well as volunteer for my church, tech booth, you could say, switching the slides and helping around there as much as I can. Next year I plan on going to Doane University to play basketball on a full ride scholarship there. I think I'm going to major in exercise science as I am interested in going into the dental field. I have lots of family and such, and so it's kind of where I'm headed as of now. I'm excited for what's to come, but I'm grateful for what I got here at North Platte High.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellie Ramsey. I'm here with my mom, Carla Long. And over the past 4 years, I've been in band, choir, musical, blue and gold, swim and dive, National Honor Society, and student council. And the student council canned food drive has definitely been my favorite event over high school because it's such a fun way to get the student body involved and give back to the community. Next year, I plan to attend UNL and major in psychology, and then hopefully enter into the medical field of some sort. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm RJ Stefka. I'm here tonight with Amy and Robbie Stefka.
Throughout high school, I've participated in tennis my freshman and sophomore years. As long as soccer, which I've done that all 4 years, and swim all 4 years as well. I was in Key Club through junior year and student council this year. I've been a part of NHS as well, and I've been very involved in my church, Beautiful Savior. One big moment, I really like the canned food drive that Ellie said, but one of moments I've really enjoyed. It's just being on the bus and experiencing and getting all the team bonding I've had with soccer and swim. It's just one way that I'm getting to engage with one another. One of my plans for after high school is I'm going to go to Creighton University. I'm going to go there. I have a hefty scholarship there, and I'm going to go into their graduate into pharmacy. I have an automatic guarantee into that. And I've been involved with Mid-Plains through their dual credit, and I'm basically entering college as a sophomore. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Let's begin. Come on up for your awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. You're gonna go up and get. Oh, yeah. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Don't move, parents are still taking pictures.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have our student spotlight. Media students Grady Sexton, Logan Streeter, and Mr.
All right. I'm Philip Willie. I teach video production and some computer classes. I want to talk our first slide. Some people might not know about our digital media career pathway. When it comes up, it'll be there. Anyways, one of our newest career pathways down in my neck of the woods is digital media. And that consists of a digital media class, video production, and an advanced video production class. And that's what these guys are at the pinnacle. They've taken advanced a couple times. And that leads us to, we're here to talk about one of the projects we did this year, a documentary film. And this slide will be good. Actually, yeah, no, this will work. So we made a documentary about water. And these guys can talk to you a little bit about maybe what they thought when they heard it was going to be about water. But it's been pretty special for us. Actually, yeah, the previous slide. It started with the fellowship with me at UNL and a couple of my fellow teachers, Keith Lloyd and Bailey Mason. And we went through UNL on this fellowship, and we were able to get like a sister school out in California with 4 teachers who went through the same process as us. And so this is kind of on the support end that I'm going to talk about first, because it's a little unique. The fellowship was there to provide support in many ways. And then the pinnacle of it was an art show where they got their work with the Skyline kids down in Berkeley that would just happen a couple weeks ago. But the fellowships provided the support, and then it brought along a lot of these other entities that supported us. We were able to get the kids a one-day workshop with I Love Public Schools filmmaker, and they paid for that. And he worked with us a little bit throughout the year. Also, it allowed us to work with Calibraska. They helped me write some curriculum for these kids on a project. I never made a documentary film. So that was another behind the scenes type thing where they supported us. The foundation here brought us support through getting us some microphones and some lights. And then the teaching and learning, even they jumped in and kind of filled some gaps as well. I'm just trying to tell you that a lot of entities like came together in ways that I had never experienced before. And then finally, our administration team, it was outstanding. Every time I would say, I don't know if we should go and do this, but we have an opportunity, to try this, Mr. Spatansky and the leadership team would say, well, this is a great opportunity. You're going to go do it. So it was amazing. We were all over, the kids were all over doing interviews. They ended up with 545 video files. And then we had to try to bring it down into a movie. But I just wanted to talk about kind of all the entities that were behind the scenes. And then the next slide were kind of more the student driven stuff where it fanned out to the students. These are some of the things and entities they were able to work with throughout the course of 2 terms. So this was multiple classes that worked on this project. Department of Natural Resources they worked with. They worked a lot with the Twin Plat resources here in Kent Miller. So the kids were emailing and back and forth and interviewing. It was pretty hard, but the kids finally got through Nebraska Public Power and worked with them to get some interviews for the film. They took a trip out to Lincoln, and we were on campus there, and they had a chance. Lincoln got them on campus to look at their emerging arts center and experience that. When they got to interview Senator Ricketts, governor at the time, was a big day for all of us. He invited the kids down to his office in Lincoln and was really good with them, spent an hour. It was just a really good experience. And then finally, the parents were emailing me, like, for good reasons, to saying, hey, how can we help? I don't know if River's still here, but yeah, so River, his mom had one of the largest libraries of aerial footage of the Platte River. So she was like, how can I help you guys? So she donated that whole thing to our kids, and then they were able to experience cataloging it and breaking it down, breaking it up. And RJ took off, but he was managing all those files. So they all got individual jobs like they would on a regular movie. We were able to kill a lot of our state standards just with one project that lasted throughout the term. And then finally at the bottom, we've recently been in contact with Governor Pillen's office, and he wants to possibly do something with the kids and have them out for an event as this thing gets closer to going to legislature. And then on the bottom left, they were selected as an official selection of the Wildcat Spirit Film Festival. So I get to take, 4 or 5 of them, and they get to compete and go to a film festival and a workshop. So it's just been a really unique project for me, and I'm glad we did it. The next slide is the title slide of their movie. We're going to have a public screening now. We finally set the date, April 18th. They'll get to show the video, and then it'll be released to YouTube or made public so folks can watch it. That'll be at the high school. And a hydrogeologist from University of Nebraska contacted us and wanted them to do a private screening. So we're setting that up for May 5th. They get to do some Q&A and show their film to the extension center here, all their staff, and then they're inviting extra guests and stakeholders. So I've used up about all of our time. And I want, if these guys want to talk for just a minute, this is Logan Streeter and Grady Sexton. Who wants to go first?
Can I hear us on the mic?
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll go. I'm Logan Streeter, as he said. I am the director and lead editor of this documentary. I've been in Mr. Willie's video production class all 4 years, taking advance probably more times than I could have or should have. But I've always wanted to make a feature film, and the opportunity came up, and I've been through it all from the beginning to the end. And it's crazy to see how far we've come. And water wasn't very interesting when I first started. It's pretty, but no, the editing side of everything, it's crazy. Like you said, almost 600 files to go through, rewatch over and over. But I've learned so much about filmmaking and what goes all into it in these last couple months alone. And I feel a lot more prepared in my college journey going forward. So I plan on attending Wayne State College and majoring in film production. Mr. Willie got me in contact actually with Dr. White, who runs the film production there at Wayne State. And it's one of, if not the only, film school in Nebraska. So I'm really excited to expand in college. But thanks to the documentary and all the other portfolio pieces I've built in Mr. Willie's film production class, I went on a visit to Wayne State, and Dr. White basically just gave me a $500 scholarship just based on what I've shown him. And I also have another opportunity through the Wildcat Film Festival to get more scholarships if that does end up winning, which is really exciting. My biggest hope is to see the program grow in especially this last year, my senior year. We've gotten a lot more equipment. It's just a big resource, and it's nice to always have that at my disposal. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's very nice to have all the resources just there, and I hope to see the program grow and all these kids to have even more equipment at their disposal and make it easier for them. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. My turn. Okay, so my name's Grady Sexton. I would probably say, so I've always been kind of like loved video production, loved video editing. And so when I saw that this was an option, because I took his digital media and video production class, when I saw that the advanced video production was an option, I jumped at it, obviously. And I've always liked taking Willie's classes. He's always a great teacher, works well with students. So I decided to take it. Second day in, we found out that it was about water. So that was kind of like how do I make a documentary about water? You know what I mean? But I mean, when we finally figured out about the whole concept of what we were trying to show the community, what we were trying to portray with our documentary, it was honestly, very interesting. It's something that I'm wouldn't think of, want to be interested in if you just told me off of a whim. But yeah, I was chosen to be assistant producer on the project, which I worked with Willie as the head producer. So most people don't know what a producer does because they think of the director, which is the person at the head of everything. But the producer just kind of executes the director's vision. So it was really fun. I had to just make sure everything was in line because all these kids I'm working with haven't made a documentary either. So I'm kind of trying to make sure we're have all of our when we're going to go interview these really, really big people, we're trying to make sure that we're not getting there and have no idea what we're doing. So that's my job, trying to keep us together. And especially I didn't think when we started off this documentary that we're going to be interviewing Pete Ricketts. That was a big surprise. So I have some bragging over my friends. So, and now he's a senator, so even more bragging. But but yeah, so there was sometimes during the process that I did not think that we'd be showing it to Governor Pillen, or even there was some rough parts, but I mean, it's going to happen when you're working with some of your peers. But I think we worked with a great group of people, like Logan and we had some other people with us, like that were carrying it out to the end. But I would just say the whole experience was I learned a lot from it. It's inspired me to do other stuff, like other projects in school. And I just think that this program, I mean, we know how much we've done with our first year. Usually your first year isn't like one that you hit it out the park, but I mean, I don't know how much more we could have done. It was like such a great project, but I'm excited for the next years and what Willie's going to do with the program. So yeah, that's basically it.
That's it. Questions?
Yeah.
I don't have any questions, but my word, what an amazing opportunity for you guys. That is just so incredibly exciting. And just to think that we've been wanting video production classes. I can remember when I first got on the board, which has been a while ago now, that it was something that was kind of a dream. And so to see it reach this point is it's just fantastic. So thank you for all of your hard work, and I look forward to seeing both of your names in lights, at some point in the future. So good job, guys. Great.
Thank you.
On a somewhat related, but I assume it's your class, but the stuff that happens at the basketball games, on the scoreboard and that kind of stuff, I assume you guys might have been involved in some of that, but I think that's so cool that we have a program where our kids can do that type of stuff and then see their work in front of their peers at games and stuff like that. So thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I'll just add to that too, because I have employed some of Mr. Willie's former students. And so I can attest to the fact that they're learning some great video production skills. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
And then we have our foundation report. Harry.
Am I on, Kyle? Okay. Good evening. Isn't that exciting, all the work that they're doing? Oh, anyway, thank you for giving me time to report out on the foundation. I'm excited to say that our Prepared to Learn Fund was able to arrange for 191 students in the district to go back to a zero balance with their school lunches. The investment was over $3,000, and while we were able to fund help 95 high school students, 81 middle school students, and 15 elementary schools, we don't look at doing this on a regular basis, but it was kind of that great, timing, I guess. One of my board members approached me and said, "Hey, could you check with Sodexo?" And I checked with them and they said, "Hey, we were just going to go talk to the district about this." And so we were able to help them. We also had that conversation of how students go from the free and reduced lunch elementary schools to a middle school environment where they have a choice and they've got a la carte items. And sometimes that can get out of hand before a parent even realizes it. So we were happy to be able to provide that assistance to those families. So hopefully that made a difference to a few families out there. Scholarships are in full swing. Our committee's out there. We've got 25 different scholarships to be awarded this year. And of course, we also review scholarships for 3 other organizations as well. And if you haven't seen, tomorrow, April 11th at the Rec Center, the Foundation and Mid-Plains Community College and the North Platte Telegraph partnered to do summer fun sign up for kids, or sign up for summer fun for kids. So we're hoping to grow that year after year and have more organizations participate. There's 15 organizations planning to be there, and some of them weren't able to make the booklet that you may have seen in your North Platte Telegraph. So come check it out from 3:30 to 5:30 tomorrow night at the Rec Center. And also save the date for July 28th and 29th. It's our big Bulldog weekend of an evening of excellence, which used to be the Distinguished Alumni Education After Hours. And then, of course, the Bulldog Golf Classic is the next day out at Lake Maloney. Our distinguished alumni are Michael Gross from the class of 1968, Mindy Stefka Helvrich of the class of 1988, and Carrie Ann Schultz Battle from the class of 1984. Be watching social media and the newspapers. We release more information on those three amazing alumni, really amazing alumni. I even got a sword from one. So, and then also we'd like to recognize the March Employees of the Month for the district. Every month, the foundation works with Prairie Friends and Flowers. We're very grateful for their continued support month after month. And even when they don't supply a bouquet of flowers, it might be a bouquet of beef sticks, which they did this month for one of the teachers. And then also this month was Carlson Financial Agency, who was our sponsor. Unfortunately, one of the March employees is not able to attend, Mr. Zachary Larson, but he said he would be here next month. But this month, we're making up for February. We've got Molly Morales and Kelly Garcia. And Lindsay, if you could come forward as well to help me recognize them. I'll let you speak. I'll slide over one. No.
All right, so it is my pleasure to speak on behalf of Jeff Ellsworth tonight for Kelly Garcia. She has been a paraprofessional in our district for 29 years. I formerly worked with her at Jefferson, and so that was kind of where I got started. And so I've known Kelly for a long time. She has duties throughout the school, but primarily right now this year, she serves students in the library as the library paraprofessional. So she is very kind and genuine and willing to step up wherever needed. But most importantly is the relationships that she develops with students. And you can see that from the moment that you step in the room with her. So she meets their students every day. They love her. She is very loved and very appreciated at Jefferson Elementary.
We'll go ahead and do Molly. Oh, okay, perfect.
All right, so I also get to speak on behalf of Molly tonight. So Molly is the administrative assistant for two departments, the teaching and learning department and the student services department. She is our go-to gal. She is very servant driven, student centered, and also it's just fun to be around. She has a great sense of humor, so we love to have her around us. So you will find her throughout the district. She is always on the go. She helps with the mobile food pantry. She is the teammates coordinator. She has the massive undertaking of ordering curricular resources and materials for all of our buildings. She's often out delivering curriculum to make sure that all students have what they need. She also helps with all of our professional development days and our setup. And last but not least, Prepared to Learn Fund. She's instrumental in getting kids what they need for that organization as well. So congratulations, Molly.
Photo.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent report, Dr. Rhodes.
Yeah, thank you. Just a few items. If you have not received an email from Katie Coble from NASB, you will. It's time for the second superintendent evaluation. And so she will send you the link for that online document. And then in May, we will go over that at the regular May board meeting. We'll give you an update on the three goals as well. Continuous school improvement. So we are at the end of our 5-year cycle. We will have our external visit next March. So if you want to write down the dates, March 25th and 26th, we will have a team from NDE and then different educators from across the state. They will comprise that external team, and they'll go through an evaluation model. They will give a kind of a formal summary at the end of their stay. So we'll get you more information on that. But again, that's March 25th and 26th of 2024. We'll then start that cycle over for continuous school improvement. Just as a reminder, we have board retreat that'll be in this room tomorrow beginning at 10. Marcia Herring will be joining us. And then we are trying to work, we are working with NPEA to kind of bring back our retirement banquet that we had several years ago. Was just a really nice tradition in the district. And I think COVID had a little bit to do with kind of that event going away. So we have set the date. We think this will probably start out small and then we'll grow. But May 6th at the venue downtown at 6 p.m. And we certainly would like all the board members and their significant other to join us at that event as well. Again, that's May 6th at 6 at the venue. We have 4 retirees that we will be honoring that evening. And then just to bring to your attention, you may know this, but I'd like to recognize a few of our students. Carly Purdy sang the national anthem at one of the state boys basketball championship games and just did a marvelous job. You heard RJ talk a little bit about entering Creighton as a sophomore. And as you're aware, we have a really great relationship with Mid-Plains, and we're able to offer dual credit with inside the walls of North Platte High School, but also out at the college as well. Landon Brott will have 3 associate degrees from Mid-Plains College, and he will be graduating from North Platte High School in May. That's just phenomenal. That's just phenomenal. And the last one I would like to bring to your attention is Ellie Fisher. Ellie Fisher is one of our FFA students, and she is the first student from North Platte High School to be recognized with a state degree. And she did that at last month's FFA conference in Lincoln. She earned her state degree, and her SAE project was a Feed the Farmer fundraiser that she's done for several years. Along with that fundraiser and a corn drive fundraiser that she's done, she's been able to raise through those 2 fundraisers nearly $90,000 for that program. That's just phenomenal. So thank you.
Board comments. Not everyone at once.
I don't really have a lot this month. I've been busy with other things, but I was able to spend a considerable amount of time with the musical kids, and just another phenomenal opportunity that our kids have. So along with so many things that we do in our district, I also attended the end of the year speech banquet, and if it would be really neat if Mr. King could come and present sometime, just how much that program has grown in the year and a half, I guess, that he's taken it over. So there's been some really great things and opportunities for our kids, and I look forward to a lot of great things in the future. So
I'll go next. I got to visit North Platte High School this month, and it was a great visit. Obviously, we've all been in the high school for probably a variety of activities and those kinds of things, but it's not very often that like I get to go far into the high school, you know, all the corners. And so that was just really great to see. We offer such a wide variety of programs, as we saw tonight, for our students. And it was encouraging just to kind of talk about bringing back some of the technical programs and some of the things that are happening there. So that was a great visit, and that's about all I have to report on this one.
On April 3rd, I visited the Lake School. It was a great visit. One of the things that I noticed and we talked to Mrs. Goodnow about was the show. They had a timeline of students, their pictures, a big poster from being born all the way up to whatever grade they were in. And I really was intrigued with those. Also on the wall were Easter eggs that the students had made that were hanging. Plus they had made some stained glass. I believe in art, they made these stained glass and they had to put them on the doors. So when the sun hits them, they shine like real stained glass. I didn't get to visit many classrooms because I happened to choose a day they were doing math testing, so that's the day that worked out for me. As usual, very clean building, Stuart. And it's nice to see with that outbuilding gone, the more parking that we have at the lake. Also, on Tuesday, April 4th, I attended the Eisenhower vocal concert of kindergarten, first and second graders, which was very entertaining. Without going into a lot of detail, one of the students in the choir got ill during the concert. And the students, while Mr. Stoner took care of that person and then some people who were collateral damage, other students, the students kept singing. They did not stop. They got the ill student off and the others left, but when they had gotten cleaned up, they came back and fit right in. It was kind of amazing. Specifically, Mr. Stoner's a first-year teacher, and I told him, I sent him a note that he handled that like somebody had been teaching 20 years. You know, so that was a great concert, and the concert was about songs from around the world. It wasn't just normal things, and so they were singing in different languages and everything. So Mr. Stoner and Mr. LaChapelle should be commended. And of course it was a full pack with all the grandparents and parents and everybody there, but it was great.
Sorry, I have one more thing I want to throw in. Mr. Larson, who could not be here tonight. He is a Jefferson alum, North Platte High. So I think it's also really neat, as Skip was mentioning, Greg Stoner, he's also an alum of North Platte. So I think it's really great that we're getting some of these kids to come back and teach. So.
Okay, committee reports. Joanne?
Okay, so the Board of Education Personnel, American Civics, Curriculum, Student Services and Communication Subcommittee met on April 4th. Present were myself, Emily Garrick, Angela Blasey, Stuart Simpson, Todd Rhodes, Kevin Mills, Carrie Linneman, and Delana Humphreys. We began at 8:04 a.m. We reviewed the purpose and direction. Had a presentation from Kids Club, which was fantastic, and we're going to get a portion of that tonight. Really excited for that. Dr. Rhodes visited with us a little bit about, we're starting to investigate the need for an additional school resource officer at the elementary level. So he and Mr. Simpson have started to explore that possibility and look at they have been looking at the financial impact and have had a couple of conversations with the North Platte Police Department. So we will continue to have conversations about that. Mr. Mills gave us an update on the staffing, including resignations and contracts that have been offered. We talked a little bit also about strategies and recruiting strategies. Administrative salaries, this item is being tabled and we're going to be discussing that a little bit more. We had some conflicts with some of our policies, and so that will be explained a little bit later in the meeting. We got a legislative update from Dr. Rhodes and Stewart. And we'll hear more about that later. We discussed the calendar changes. There were 187 teacher days scheduled on the calendar rather than the contracted 185 days. And so we talked about how that was corrected. The resignation and then resignations were attached to our agenda, the letters, so that we could review them. The meeting was adjourned at 9:18 a.m.
All right. The Finance and Communications Subcommittee met on the 5th of last week. it was Stuart, Skip, Dr. Rhodes, myself, and Mrs. Volley. We did meet at Madison, so she joined us. We reviewed the purpose and direction statement as we always do, and then Mr. Simpson and Mrs. Volley took us on a tour of Madison. We were able to see some of the updates that were made within the last couple of years. Mrs. Volley loves her new doors for the classrooms. I think she said some of them had carpet and some other things on them, so it was definitely a needed upgrade. She's got a kind of wish list of some other things she'd like to do, and so she kind of showed us what those ideas were. She also talked to us a little bit about how they've kind of reformatted the classrooms over there and the layout. And it sounds like it's a pretty efficient process they have over there now. So that was fun to see that. I note we started before any of the students were in the building, and by the end of the tour, the students were all coming in. I was very impressed. Probably helps when you're walking around with the principal, but all the students seemed to be very well behaved and respectful. And so it was fun to see kind of how that morning process starts. They go in and get their lunch or their breakfast and then can take it to their classroom where they do their morning session. And they also have a walking club. And so we got to see what that kind of looked like. So that was fun to see. Once we got into our actual meeting, we also talked about the administrative salaries, which Joanne mentioned. We tabled that discussion and we talked a little bit about the policies, which we'll be reviewing tonight. We went over the 23-24 budget, which we always do. We reviewed the building fund budget and addressed the McDonald construction, the PAC lighting at the high school, and roofing needs. We also talked about the ESSERS funds again and kind of the timeline for those and what we're doing with ESSERS 2 and ESSERS 3. We also had a legislation discussion. Dr. Rhodes, Stewart, and Skip all have been participating in various meetings throughout the state to kind of track everything that's going on there. Mr. Simpson went over the various summer projects that maintenance has scheduled. It's really interesting to see those. There's small as getting some dividers replaced in the bathroom at the high school to some bigger projects. And so I know our maintenance department is always very busy over the summer when the students are out. And so it's neat to see everything that's going on there. We talked about our workers' compensation insurance. Stuart gave us kind of an overview of that and explained how our premium is based on a 3-year average. And then we also had an opportunity to review the resignation letters. And we actually adjourned at 8:23. So we were in there for less than an hour, which I think is a record for Stuart. So we'll see if that keeps going.
Now we have our consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide the consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through the board subcommittee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items have been provided to all the board members and the public in advance to assure the extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Can I get a motion to accept it?
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Lynn Green.
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Okay, reports and discussion. Kids Club.
Your meeting was under an hour because we weren't there. I'm so sorry.
We love hearing from you.
I have a display to keep me on track this time, so. I'm Carrie Linneman, Director of Kids Club. I've been with the district for, this will be my 19th year, I think, going into. So I love what I do. I love this program, and I'm with today.
I'm Delana Humphreys. I have been with the district for 11 years. I spent 10 of those years as a para at Eisenhower Elementary, and I am currently the programming coordinator for Kids Club and site coordinator at Eisenhower for Kids Club.
And most of our audience is Kids Club staff, so I gave them an invitation and they showed up, and I love that about all of them. So just a quick
we have not presented to the board since before COVID. I think it was 2018, actually. So we have been in the district or in the community for 21 years. The first 5 years, we were under a community connections grant and not under the umbrella of the North Platte Public Schools. We have over 300 school year students. We have over 30 staff, 9 of them are high school, 7 are college. We have 7 site locations at all of our elementaries. We share paras, we share teachers. We have a lot of staff who do double duty and we appreciate all of them. We have enrolled 175 students this summer. That's the biggest we've ever been. We started at 60, I think, at the beginning, and then it went to 100 and then 120 and then 150. And now we are trying 175. So we will see how this goes this summer. I know with this fabulous team, it will be like a walk in the park, right, guys? We have 30 plus community partners. That has been a build back from COVID. Some of them have been here since the beginning, but a lot of them are new. And we have grades K through 5 served in our program. These are just places where our funding comes from. So our biggest funding is Nebraska 21st Century money, and that funds Cody, Lincoln, Jefferson, Washington. And Cody has their own grant because in the original grant, they were not eligible with the criteria. And so we did a separate grant for Cody when they were eligible. We have an ELO grant that brings Horse Club to our students. So that has come from the Nebraska lottery funding and it goes through the 21st Century dollars. So we can only serve students in those schools for Horse Club, but it's why Lake and McDonald and Eisenhower do not get to see the Horse Club funneled into their programs because that money is specifically earmarked for that. And then on that back, the previous slide, Sheila, the funding isn't funneled through us from the foundation, but we have a pot of money that a donor gave to Terry specifically for tutoring kids. And so we have a homework club that our teachers are paid through the foundation to host those. Okay, thank you, Sheila. I'm Carrie Linneman, again, Delana Humphreys. Miss Julie is here. She does all of our office things and then she does Lincoln's after school time as well. These businesses, we have over 200 businesses in our community who have staff working for them who have children in our program. So 200 businesses with their staff from the bell ringing until 5:30 at night their staff remain productive because they are not worrying about where their children are after school time. Lincoln Elementary, so they are one of our grant funded sites. And those are the staff that you see up there. We have 2 high school students there. Jefferson is also grant funded. We have looks like a lot of staff, but they fill in when they can on days that they're able to. So we have a high school student there. We have some of our college staff there. Washington, Miss Connie, we have a high school and a college student there. And we serve about 30 kids after school at Washington. A lot of those kiddos get to walk home in their neighborhood. They're our smallest site, but still not doing small things there. So Cody School is our largest site. They serve about 60 kids after school. Miss Tina's our crazy one over here. So she and Dr. Eshelman say the more the merrier, send them in. So we love that about them. McDonald Kids Club, we have all college kids there. So, and it is a really big site. They have about 50 kiddos there. Kids are walking in the doors and asking to come to McDonald. We have a waiting list there that's fairly large. Parents are calling and saying they don't need to be there, but they sure want to. So will you please put them on that list? So we love that. Eisenhower, Miss Delana is in charge there. We have high school senior Emma Beatty, and we have Mickey who is there, and she is a sped para during the day at Eisenhower. Lake, last but not least, for their population, have a huge site. So their school serves about 45 kids after school there. So considering how many students are enrolled at Lake, that is a percentage that's really large at Kids Club. And Matthew and Jack Busher and Miss Jackie just float and sub wherever we need them. And we couldn't do it without them because there are days they're headed to their site at 3:10 and I call and say, Plan B, you have to turn around and go here. So we love them and couldn't function without them. So one of the things that was donated to us through a Beyond School Bells grant was our makerspace trailer. And if you saw it in the parking lot when you pulled in, if you didn't, take a look at it when you leave. That was a project with our Skills USA kids and the college. The college did the CNC router, cut out all the pieces. And then our high school students put those pieces together. There is actually a time-lapse video of that occurring one day at the high school, and it's pretty spectacular to see. But now we fill that with items that we haul from school to school, and the kids that are at those sites can take the items out and play with them and tinker with them and make our space. So Mega Days, we host those every time there's a PD day in the district, and we really like to use our internal supports there. So we partner with our musical students. We had the Mary Poppins Mega Day this year. We have a holiday one that we absolutely love. Skills USA comes and does one of those with us. So we really, really just love the Mega Days. It puts us all together in one place when we're usually spread throughout the district. We don't work together very often, which is weird with a staff that large, and you say, but we don't all work together. So summer program, we just absolutely love that. We have so many community partners in the summer, and they are calling us to work with us. And we've come such a long way of begging people to jump on board and come and provide activities for us. And now we almost have too many where it's like, we hate to turn you away. We'll figure out a way. So just come on and we'll make it work. We have a family that donates all of our swim lessons for every kid in our program, and they run that through Mid-Nebraska, and they are an amazing family. And every year when we finish summer, they ask how much they should put in that fund for the next year. So 175 swim lessons, and that has to be just a huge expense, and they feel it's a valid expense, and they want to make sure that those kids get that every year. So Horse Club, we talked about that just a little bit. I think it's in its 6th year. It started with working with wildlife, which was a little smaller piece. And we did that with the Lincoln Children's Zoo, and we Skyped with them. And then we asked the kids kind of what you would like to do next. And it seemed like rodeoing and horse exposure and things and equine therapy just seemed like a no-brainer here in North Platte. And Dusty and our Mid-Plains College rodeo team all jumped on board, our rodeo queens, and this has just been a magical thing between us and them. So we love our horse club. American Midwest Ballet, we did a summer program with the college one year, and the ballet did a little session, and they were so impressed with our kids that every year since then they have given us free tickets and invited us back to see the Nutcracker in December. Jessica Nichols, who used to work for Kids Club, took a job at UNL, and she invited us there for a behind the scenes tour of the university and the football field. And then we went to Morrill Hall and got to do that. So some of our tentacles from staff are far reaching, and we love that they are giving back to us in ways that benefit our kids. And then I'm going to hand it over to our community partner liaison, because she has organized and done all of this. So Delana, take it away.
So we have Marathon Kids. Miss Trudy Merritt comes into every site about twice a month, and we run a mile. Sometimes the kids love it and sometimes they do not. It's also been super fun. They learn pacing themselves and encouraging their fellow classmates to keep going and nice job and you got this and stuff. I think that last week, 2 weeks ago, as a kids club, we have reached 5,000 miles that we have ran so far. And we are going to see her sometime this summer also. So we're going to keep going and see how many miles we can get collectively. At the end of this, every student gets a water bottle that says Marathon Kids on it, and they've been able to decorate it with stickers that Trudy has awarded to them. And after every run, after every visit that she sees us, she awards kids with either a medal of some sort or stickers to put on their water bottle. This is Rockin' Paws Therapy Dogs. We have a couple teachers from Lincoln Elementary. They will come into our schools and bring their therapy dogs. We had 4 of them visit Eisenhower. And they taught all the students what they do, why we need therapy dogs, how you train them. The kids were able to pet them, love on them, see what they do. And we love it. They love it. Dogs are fun for everybody. So this is new this year. This is Future Kids. Graham out of Omaha actually reached out to us. He coaches soccer and he holds camps around. We have one this summer that he is holding over at Eisenhower. They come to every site about twice a month, depending on the weather. With the snow and stuff, they have not been able to come as often as they wanted to. But they come in and teach different drills. They play soccer, they do tags, stuff like that. Graham is incredible with the kids. They cannot wait to play soccer and beg for them to come back as soon as they're gone. So this is a fun one. This is the Skills USA, where, as Carrie said, we do a mega day with them. In those mega days, we have learned to weld things where the kids actually get to put on all of the gear, the helmet and all the stuff, and they get to weld something, which is super cool. We've learned about drones, how to fly them, what they do. We've made keychains out of wood that they get to keep. And then they come to the schools once a month to every school. This year they made paper airplanes, and they had like straws and put a balloon on there and had two strings, and they were able to race their planes down the runway. That was a lot of fun. And we have 2 local therapists who come to every school, Jackie Yenny and Sammy Burns, and they do SEL lessons with us. Another one that the kids really enjoy, I enjoy, so.
And then this, I will take it back from Miss Delana and tell you really quickly, our high school advisory team, this is actually being looked at statewide because we're kind of innovative in putting this together. Our 9 high school staff were actually written into a grant from Beyond School Bells. They let us feed them every time we come together, and they come up with ideas, and they're not that far away from having been students in the program. So their ideas are actually sometimes braver and more adventurous than mine are. And they want to implement them too. So we allow them the freedom to put that all together. And then Sheila, I think on the next slide, we have pictures of the clubs that they have done. So we have a sports club. So a couple of our high school students will travel every Friday to a different school, and they talk about STEM and sports. And you think, how do you put STEM in there? But measuring free throw lines and trajectories and all of those things, those are all very sciencey and technical. So we were able to fund that. Duct tape engineering was another one, and the kids love that. So the next one that we had one of our students do was the STEM coloring challenge. So they're coloring things that maybe they are interested in as a career. They talk a little bit about if you mix colors, what is it going to make if you do that? So that one's actually been surprisingly fun. And one of our male high school staff was the one who thought of that and came up with it. And he is incredible. And the conversations he has with our kids are great. Science in the kitchen. So they have absolutely loved that one. There's smiles on their faces and they get to eat. So cheerleading, and this one's been really fun, and it's been exciting to see the kids be involved in this and realize that it is not just a female driven sport, and we have lots of male participation, and it's just been across the board a really fun club. Makerspace, they get to do what they want, so they have freedom to make a mess, and it gives me anxiety, but they love it. And binary beating, this one's kind of fun. I have a tough time wrapping my head around this one, but if you do the letters of the alphabet in binary code, you put beads out that the zeros are this color and the ones are another color, and then you give them the alphabet and they can make I love you or their name out of the different patterns that you would make with beads. So, and then with our grant from Beyond School Bells, they wanted us to do more family engagement. When we're in 7 site locations, that's a little difficult. So we've been trying to do them as community events. So we decorate the schoolhouse at the drive through every holiday season out at the historical museum. And one night our staff all went there and we handed out STEM kits. And so they all got marshmallows that they were able to put together. And there was a flyer in there with directions and then how to upload those pictures to our Facebook page. And we did a drawing, and the winning drawing kids got a family game night package. And then we did a family engagement night where we paid for the kids and their families to come to a basketball game, and they got concessions paid for as well. Oh, you were good. And then this was the Florida conference that we just went to. Tina and Delana are my advisory team, and so they were going anyway. And then when I was applied for and found out I was given the opportunity to be on the Achievery cohort, I was able to go and do that while they attended sessions, and that will be a year-long project. So we'll report back in a year how that turns out for us. We're very excited, and the sun was wonderful while you all were in the snow and ick. These are our community partners listed. Some of them are community local, some of them are statewide. And it's just a fun list to look at and see that we are supported in our community in such a big way. And I think the last slide is that April 24th through 28th is our after school professionals week. So if you have a spare minute to throw an email out or do something, we will be celebrating us in really fun ways. So I think I tried to keep that shorter, but you know, when we're so excited about all of this, we kind of go long. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
If I can make a couple of comments about Carrie, they forgot to mention, they really do reach out to our community partners for the Fun on the Run and provide every student with a set of tennis shoes. So it's very awesome. And it's a quality tennis shoe. So
yes,
students, you can see them turn around and wear them to school each and every year. And then the other item was we're moving Kids Club over to Lincoln this summer for Summer Kids Club. Jefferson just has to be deep clean for once, but they'll take over the whole building.
well, we might share it with somebody.
I think we know most of your folks that are in the audience. You want to introduce them so the board knows these faces?
Absolutely. So Tina's at Cody, Maddie is at McDonald, Vanessa is at McDonald, Jonah is at McDonald, Angelica is at Jefferson, Jack is a floater, Matt is a floater, Miss Julie is here at McKinley, and then also at Lincoln. Miss Connie is Washington. Jackie is a jack of all trades. She's everywhere for us. And Miss Kelly is at Jefferson. So, and RJ that was here tonight was a former K-5 after school program attendee. So lots of tentacles. I think I should count it and get an official count. But I think in our district currently, there are a dozen teachers who started as paras working at Kids Club. So, yeah. Yes, so thank you for supporting us. Thank you for validating the work that we do and continuing to see our worth and keep us in the district.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staffing update. Mr. Mills.
Where you guys going?
There goes the whole room. Look what you did.
I got 6 new teachers here. Where you guys going? Good evening.
Sure cleared them out.
I did. Step up here. What great things we have going on in the district. Wow, that is awesome. And one of the great things obviously is with hiring. You saw the consent agenda. We do have a few that didn't make that list because they were on Friday. We hired a fantastic couple that the gentleman's going to teach PE and coach basketball at the high school. And his wife is going to be a guidance counselor at the high school. We came in late on the list on Thursday. We got those hires. They were here on campus, showed them around the school, took some pictures, and really excited to have them. They have a couple small children bringing in to boost our enrollment. And then we did hire an elementary teacher that was late on this week as well. Did not make that list. So instead of the 12 or 11 that are on there, it really should read 14. And then we'll add one for next year that we grabbed up today. So good news on that. Obviously, we're in April, so things are getting locked down here soon and can be very, very competitive. I kind of wanted to get an idea for the board of where we were last year, at this time and this space of we're about equal right now. We're a little bit above where we were last year. We'd hired 38 last year and we're at 39 right now. And then we have about 10 more positions yet is the difference. Last year, we were pretty well completely finished. We did hire, our last hire last year wasn't until in June. So we still give some hope there. We still got time as we continue to advertise and call candidates in and set up interviews. We continue to plug with that. The great news is working with all the different directors and principals that we know that we're going to have to be creative for next year because we have quite a few positions open, especially science and special education. So we're looking at different ways to come up with some creative plans to be able to cover all of those courses. But we'll continue, obviously, to do all of our recruiting and we won't stop until school starts. So questions from the board on staffing.
Mr. Mills, are you able to track it all? Are you seeing anything with our incentives, our signing bonuses, our new longevity incentive program, those kind of things? Are you seeing any of that? Because I mean, you get into that with them and why they chose North Platte. Does that make a difference?
Absolutely, Matt. We have that discussion every time. And as you look around the state and the nation, it's very, very, very competitive now because every district is doing retaining, hiring, recruiting, paying student teachers. So yeah, we give that to them and explain it and walk through all the different pieces that Nebraska offers. And I think you folks understand this. All those applicants that we grab, they have a connection to the community or somewhere surrounding within 50, 60 miles. So they are connected. And the other great thing, even though we're sad for people to leave, when we look at those, they're all legitimate. They're all taking a different job. They're moving, they're getting married, they're going someplace else. So it isn't, at least in my view of what I've read and talked to staff, it's not anything personal. There's a lot of movement going on, and teachers have the upper hand right now for positions across the United States, everywhere. Other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Monthly financial and budget report. Mr. Stephen.
I'm glad Mr. Mills got to go after Carrie because I've always, when you have a positive thing like that and then you get into budget and numbers, it's different. But as Sheila brings up the financial report, I'm going to do it in two phases. We'll talk a little bit about the finance and then we're also going to talk about the budget for 23-24 a little bit. But on the finance, there is a quiz tonight if you paid attention to what I have put in the presentation. No. Bueller. So last month when we looked at especially the enrollment number, I felt like that document was a little bit overwhelming. So I tried to break it up so that you could have a better idea. So obviously always on the first page will be our enrollment for when we have their official enrollment to where we're currently standing, whether it's in the grade or by building, and you can see that. But then I took the second part that Matt had identified. And if you go to the second page, Sheila, breaks it down by, our official enrollment for 9-12, 6-8 or K-5, and you can see the changes in those specific areas. And I did a 5-year average so you can get a better idea of where our shifting is going on. And you can see specifically at the K-5 level that we're seeing that uptick in enrollment like we did last month for our student population. Obviously, with the high school, we have early graduates leaving at this point in time. Next year, when we start out in September, October, November, we'll be able to see sort of a different trend as far as numbers are concerned, and not that, big red number going out, but that's just because we have had early graduates. And that's nice to see, listening to all of our students coming in, which is the most positive thing, is they're taking the classes. And as Dr. Rhodes mentioned, we have numerous students doing dual credit. And so with that, that's opportunities that we're seeing that they want to expand their horizons and move on to the next level. So I broke those two up last time, but then along with that, I put on the next 2 pages, Sheila, and I'll just stop really quickly and mention, so you can see the change in enrollment sort of in a graphic form. So you can see the changes for 9-12 or 6-8. And then if you go down to the next page, you can just see the changes in enrollment for the last 5 years, sort of in a graphic form. This is my first blush. If all of a sudden you would say, hey, by the way, I would prefer to see it this way, please reach out and let me know, and maybe I can try to pull something together differently so you can get a better idea of what we're looking at and the changes in enrollment going forward. But you can see, like here on the K-5 enrollment, how much the total overall enrollment has dropped from 18-19 to 22-23, just in a graphic sense, and that stair step down also. So with that, if we go on to page 6, Sheila, and I'm talking, well, first of all, I went with Angela and Cindy to a finance workshop in Kearney. And a lot of times when they're talking sort of somewhat to the schools at 900 to, a couple of thousand students and what they present to their boards. But in that, I have done this, I've used this type of data to develop my graphs over the course of the last 10 to 17 years. So, working with Dr. Rhodes and looking at what they presented, I just want to include this piece of information within our financial report. So it's always there. You can get a historical perspective of the numbers in comparison to graphs. So this one drives the graphs, but if you'd like to look at numbers, you can look at this. If you'd like to look at graphs, you get the same perspective one way or another. So I just wanted to at least note that piece within there. But the one item that we're dealing with this year, and it's just at the state level, the number of staff members that they have and what is going on, is getting reimbursed for our grants at the state level. And right now, just from we'll just say an accountant perspective, we have $1,174,000 outstanding in receivables on our grants, from our IDEA grant to our ESSA grant to just various small ones like Carrie talked about on her kids club. We have 2 ESSER grants coming in through there. And so we're always dealing with outstanding receivables, but this one's going into the 3rd month of not receiving those cash. And in that, it's pushing down how much money we have going out on cash flow. And we'll see that on the graph coming up here. But I really wanted to make a note that we're struggling with getting money in. Janelle and I get all the grants submitted to make sure that we have that money coming in. And we reach out periodically to ask, the status of what's going on. And it's just this one of them was, we're still trying to close out last year and then move on to this year. So we work at trying to get that money coming in as quickly as we can. But along with what we attended down there and what some of the information was that I brought back from Kearney on page 9, Sheila. They stated a different way at what they presented, but when I look at it, I look at the asset allocation, which is my cash less receivable or less liabilities. And we do have liabilities because we always have outstanding liabilities for retirement, state tax, and a few other minor areas that we flow through our balance sheet. So I look at it more as an asset allocation, but you can see this in number form in comparison to the graph, how much money we have consolidated in our bank account for North Platte Public Schools, showing all the funds that we operate as well as where their assets are sitting at the end of March. And then also I wanted to show how much money we pay out on payroll compared to other bills. And payroll includes not only salaries, but all the federal tax that we deduct, as well as state retirement, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and so forth. So that's my new piece of information that you'll see here going forward. And then finally, the last one that we talk about each and every time is our graph and the cash flow, which is the next page. There you go. And yes, it's dropped down a little bit more, but that's sort of it goes back to my discussion about getting the grant money in and trying to get that reimbursed so that we know that we have a little bit more cash flow. With that, we're still making payroll. We're still doing everything accordingly, but we're monitoring that on a monthly or weekly basis. I'll go into the budget next, but I want to ask any questions in regards to this financial report. So just on the budget side, and I don't have anything presented, but I just want to make a couple of points. Number one, as Matt mentioned, we reviewed the building fund and what Skip and Cindy and Matt are reviewing as far as what we have to do in the building fund, including our performing arts and McDonald and a few other areas. But the previous month we looked at the QC Puff. Going forward, we hope to look at our general fund for the 23-24 school year. But in that, I know with Dr. Rhodes and Skip, we're monitoring legislation going through, because that right now we can see that train moving through the legislature, and we know that something's going to happen in regards to how we're funded here in the future for North Platte Public Schools. So we don't really want to jump yet and show that until we get a little bit better handle on what's going on. Also, just to remind you, a couple of dates coming up. Number one, at the end of June, we will be receiving the state auditor spreadsheet that we have to put together to address how we're going to have our budget hearings, as well as do we have our pink card, hearing or not. But then in the process, I wanted to remind everybody that on August 25th at 5:30, we'll also have our budget hearing of expenditures. That's normally the date that we do is the last Monday of August. That will be after we receive our certified valuations from the county. And with the dynamics that are going on in the state level, we're going to see a lot of possibly different changes of how that valuation comes in. So I want to remind everybody of August 28th at 5:30. Budget questions. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. And the administrative salary.
What I really wanted to address here was, as we look at our administrator salaries, and this does not include the superintendent, because obviously you've already dealt with him and his contract for the next year. But I want to remind you, obviously, as we look at administrator salaries, we look at the purpose and direction of North Platte Public Schools and what we're here for first and foremost. But then also, and I forgot to put it in there, but I'm going to repeat. We look at every child, the positive relationships, the professional capacity, the systemic structures and processes, the conductive learning environment, collaborative spirit, and moral compass. As we go through that process, Dr. Rhodes reads that each and every time we have ADCO, each and every time we have cabinet, and each and every time we meet as a group to discuss certain things. We want to make sure that we keep that first and foremost on our mind. So as we look at administrator salaries, and I just want to touch on a couple of things. Administrator salaries are no different than teacher salaries. We try to take a look at how they're compensated by their job assignment, which is some of a level, obviously Corey and what his responsibilities are different than an elementary principal. The number of contract days that they have to work, obviously that is different based upon the person in the building. The experience they have, the education and the performance with, as Dr. Rhodes goes through their accountability reports for every year, what's going on, and then it can address them accordingly. So with that, that's what we look at for administrator compensation. Putting that aside, then we also take a look at our schools on our array. Just to remind everybody, our array data is Scottsbluff, Lexington, Hastings, Kearney, Norfolk, Columbus, and Fremont. It's been our array. I can look at Skip. It's been our array for years, and just with the size of schools, we have to look at school districts that are in geographic location as well as size. And we've used this array for a numerous amount of years. So with that, we try to take a look at where their salary stands, where the array schools are going, and are we comparable to our overall salary package. So with that, we also look at consumer price index, and this year, still it's sitting at about 6%. I know in the past years it's been higher. I think with the economy and what's happening, we're seeing it come down, but still it's holding at a greater one. So with that, that's administrator salaries in a nutshell. Questions?
Okay, legislative update.
Me? I think all I want to mention is LB 583, and which is the governor's school finance package that's going through, which is going to provide every school district with $1,500. It passed first reading. It is now under enrollment review, and it's will be brought up in select file. Now I was looking at the agenda for tomorrow, and really nothing's on there dramatically that we need to pay attention to. But obviously each and every day, I know Skip and Dr. Rhodes also look at the agenda and see what's on the legislature moving forward. And then the other piece that I just want to mention was 243. It used to be, if I want to say 589, but it was rolled into 243 by Senator Breezy. This really caps how much revenue growth the school district can go on. For our purposes in North Platte, as we've seen our enrollment growth or our revenue growth, it's been somewhat around 2 to 3% of property taxes. Last year was an anomaly. I'm going to say I would greatly appreciate a lot more valuation growth in the city, but looking over the course of the past 5-6 years, we have not seen that. So in that, we'll continually monitor it, but if anything happens, we'll keep the board abreast of what's going to go on. But 3% growth for revenue should be somewhat in line with what we've seen in the past. I think the one piece in both packages has been dealing with special education and giving school districts about 80% of our expenditures in special education. And should that be included in the formula and outside of the formula? And there's been a lot of debate in regards to that piece. I think right now it's sitting outside, but moving forward, that would be a great benefit to North Platte Public Schools. So those are my two pieces, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Rhodes and Skip at this point.
And I think we're at day 60 tomorrow. Is that right?
Have to.
Yeah. And it's a 90-day session. They have not dealt with the budget yet, which they have to have on the governor's desk by day 70. So that allows him 10 days to look at it in case. So they have to deal with that, and they have not yet addressed voter ID, which passed last year, which is a constitutional amendment. So they have to deal with that one as well. And they really have passed nothing yet. But those two items have to come up here rather quickly. So some of the others, like 583, will be put back for a little bit, and then all the other items as well. But those are the two major ones that they have to get through here in the next 20 days or budget within 10 days. 10 legislative days, not 10 days, 10 legislative days. So we did not meet today. Our group did not meet because we have to see what's going to happen this week, actually.
Right.
And then we will meet again probably next Monday. We met last Monday. I sent you.
Yeah.
I sent you what we discussed, which is what I'm saying now. But the fact is, we'll have to see what happens this week. And then that sped thing with 80%, whether in the formula or out of the formula, because we have one of our strong state senators wants it in the formula. So.
I don't think I have anything to add. I mean, it's probably the slowest I can remember the legislature moving. So anything that is a big ticket item, you'll probably see that come up on the floor so that they know that it's going to impact the budget and see where it's going to end up so that they can get that budget on Governor Pillen's desk. So I through the update, I try and give you a little bit of an update legislatively. There are two really, really big, large education bills right now. And each one of those, they amended into those 4 or 5 other education bills. So we'll see how those two bills progress through. And I think they will potentially come up for debate. So we'll kind of monitor that. But I think they have their hands full just figuring out the budget at this point. They're kind of under the timeline now. So we'll continue. I think the nice thing is that I think we watch very closely. I think we advocate when we can. I know Skip does at the state level with NASB. Both Mr. Simpson and I, we have conversations with Senator Jacobson, who again, I'll just say it again, is a great advocate for public schools and North Platte Public Schools. And so we do have a voice on the floor. And I would say a very strong voice. So we'll continue to advocate.
Now is for public comment. Public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines and public comments form with the date, topic, addressing, name, address, and the time of the organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. Sheila? We have none. Okay, so now we can go to some action items. Dr. Rhodes.
Sheila, would you bring up the 22-23 calendar? So we have discussed this in subcommittee meetings, and I think as you heard from those minutes, the board approved it. It had been a little bit over a year ago, a 2-year calendar for 22-23 and 23-24. Upon calculating those days, probably midwinter, we found that we actually had teachers with these two calendars that would be contracted for 187 days. Unfortunately, for this school year, we had already had the 2 snow days. And within our negotiated agreement, there's some language in there on how we do makeup days. And one of those is for teachers to log their hours worked, turn them into a supervisor. The easiest way to, quite honestly, fix the 22-23 calendar would have been to eat those 2 snow days and not worry about, makeup days. Unfortunately, by the time we caught it, teachers had already started to log those hours. So we really couldn't go back in time and change that. I will tell you philosophically, anytime we ask the board to amend a calendar, it is number one priority is always instructional time. And if we're not going to affect instructional time, a lot of times we don't take board action on that. And we are very, very closely watching instructional time. From COVID that we have been granted a waiver through the Department of Education on instructional hours at all levels. But nonetheless, kids in school being instructed is ultimately of great importance. And so we wanted to make changes as far away from our kids as we possibly could. So the days that we gave back for 22-23 One of those is tomorrow, which was a scheduled professional development day, a non-student day. And so we've extended Easter break for teachers to take one of those days. And then the other day is the 24th of May. On the original calendar, the 24th was a scheduled professional development day. So you might ask, if you're taking that away, how does this affect instructional time? To remedy that, we are proposing a half day with students on the 23rd. The original calendar had that as a full day of school for kids. And so we would dismiss kids at noon, and then the last teacher workday would be that half a day on May 23rd. And then they would not need to report on the 24th. So that makes up those 2 days for 22-23 calendar. Are there any questions on that? Again, we really wanted to try and make sure that we were as far away from our instruction of students as we could possibly be, as particularly that we already had 2 snow days that we lost instruction. Questions around that calendar? Okay, Sheila, 23-24. So 23-24, we did adjust the instructional days at the back end of the school year. And so our last school day originally was scheduled for May 21st of 2024. We are recommending to the board that the last day be Friday, May 17th, and that the last teacher day then would be that Monday, the 20th. So the 2 days that would be non-contract days would be May 21st and May 22nd. We will also be asking NPA to take a look at our negotiated agreement on how we make up snow days. Again, when you look at instruction, there quite honestly are times where we're going to have to bring teachers back in, but if we're not having them report on a day where we have inclement weather. And so we want that to be a little bit more open as we move forward with this. So that's a discussion for down the road as we look at next year's master agreement, and we work with our association on that. But this would take away 2 instructional days. We have talked as a administrative team that most likely, if we have snow days next year, we most likely are going to have makeup days. We're going to need to make up that instructional time. Okay. Any questions for me around these 2?
I was curious on the making up snow days. Have we ever as a district looked at, so my sister is a teacher in Arkansas and they don't plan snow days there because it doesn't snow a lot there. But occasionally they get scared by some ice and they stay home, and they have a system set up to where kids can learn from home, similar to, I think they implemented it after COVID. And so when they know they don't have any extra days, they do something like that. So I wasn't sure if that was something we had ever looked into.
I think it certainly would be a worthy discussion to have. I know that some of the metro schools in this state and the larger schools, one of the offsets of COVID was online learning became very, very much enhanced. So I know there were a lot of districts at that time as they were going through that said, well, there won't be any snow days any longer. It'll just be online learning days. And I think when we took a little bit deeper dive into that, the social emotional part of, having a snow day is actually pretty important for kids. And so I think a lot of those districts have said, we don't want to go down that road. And as good as programming as schools have for online learning, it's not the same as that face-to-face physical presence that we have. Again, I think it's a discussion to have that maybe if you have to make up, multiple days, do you look at the online component a little bit? Most likely in the future, the way we'll build our calendars will be that we'll have makeup days on the calendar so people can plan accordingly in the event we have weather related closures. And so, as a parent, you could say, well, there's the potential that my student will be in school on May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th if we have snow days. Just to try and communicate that out ahead of time as people are planning vacations and things like that. So good, that's a good suggestion though.
Can we get a motion?
I would move to approve the revised 2022, 2023 and 2023, 24 school calendars as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Sheila?
Joanna Green.
Aye.
Skip Walter.
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye.
Andrew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blaze.
Aye. Okay, motion to repeal board policy 1010 and 1011.
So I'll start this, and then if any of the exec council wants to pop in, please do. This kind of goes along with Mr. Simpson's presentation on administrative salaries. You know, I think basically what we can safely say is what we've practiced is not what we have in policy as it relates to setting administrative salaries outside of the superintendent. So 1010 is a timeline. 1010 is a poorly written policy overall. It does have superintendent and principal salary timelines in there. Now, the superintendent salary is dictated by contract law and what we have in the contract. So there is a little bit of differentiation between the policy and what we have in the contract. And then the poorly written part of 1010 is it includes principal pay, but no other administrators, whether they're district administrators. And of course, we're talking about certificated here. And so that's 1010. That's a policy that we've probably leaned on a little more as it relates to superintendent salary. Mr. Simpson, would you agree to that? Yeah, we've referenced that in the past. 1011 is a policy that Emily had caught, thankfully. It really spells out the kind of the process and the timeline for setting all administrative salaries outside of the superintendent. The real problem with that policy is it's about a 3-month-long process. And so, you know, where we're at in April right now, there would be no way to get those salaries set until July. And that certainly isn't fair to our administrators. So, you know, we're going to ask that you consider repealing those two. Now, a repeal is a cancel of those policies. Emily had a great question earlier about suspending those policies versus repealing. My thought around repealing versus suspending, generally, if you suspend a policy, you're going to bring it back at a very minimum, probably in some sort of an edited format for a first reading and then eventually approval. Our thought moving forward is that we'll develop brand new policy around this that'll be one policy. It'll probably fall within the 2000s, which is actually our administrative series policies. So it'll be a new policy with new timelines. Both Mr. Simpson and I have began to reach out to other districts to see timeline where people are at and kind of those things. And kind of what we have found, quite honestly, is that administrator packages, certified administrative packages outside the superintendent generally are going to their boards of education in February. And I think Mr. Simpson would like that from a budgeting standpoint. So we've got some work to do on policy, but I think what this repeal would do for us tonight is allow us to move forward. And so the document that Mr. Simpson shared, we would utilize within subcommittees in May, and then we'd bring that for discussion and action in May. And certainly be able to set those administrative salaries at that point. All administrators, all certificated administrators other than superintendent do fall under the continuing contract law. So by April 15th, they're automatically rolled over. And so we don't have it. That April 15th date that was in the original 1010 is really obsolete as it relates to administrators other than the superintendent. That does not, the superintendent is always a probationary employee. So questions or executive council, you want to chime in?
Well, I think one of the other important things about 10-11 is that it actually requires us to go into executive session before we can even come to a board meeting and discuss it with the public. And that's something our legal counsel has advised against. And so when we've got something in our policy that our legal counsel doesn't think is a very good idea, then I think it's definitely something we need to address.
I think probably what happened with these was when we switched over our law firms, that this was in the old and I just kind of got transferred back, that I don't think got paid attention to, because if you know, KSB has a much shorter numbering system than Perry Law Firm did. And I think repealing it is fine if we develop our own that will replace it with their guidance. I think that's probably the best avenue to go.
We get a motion.
I would make a motion to repeal policy 1010 and policy 1011.
Second.
Oh.
Racing.
It was louder.
Always.
Any discussion? Okay, Sheila.
Skip Ballsy.
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Andrew Willie.
Aye.
Fred Meyer.
Aye.
Okay. Now, request approval for bids from Weathercraft for roof replacement at McDonald Elementary.
Before we get us started on that, I do want to say thank you to Matt and Emily. They did the claims audit. And I've had to do it myself for the past 3 months. So I've, Matt has been observing me and taking notes, and so far I've been successful. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, what's going on? And Matt had brought up a couple of good questions before the board meeting. We're doing the HVAC construction at McDonald, and all of a sudden now we're bringing this back, and why is that and what's going on? Well, last year we knew that McDonald's roof was up for replacement, and with our intent of using ESSER 3 for the HVAC project at McDonald, we knew that we needed to hold off on doing that roof, and we looked at some various other ones that could be replaced last year, and then took the chance this year to just replace the full roof only at McDonald in 2023. With that, what we're doing is we're going in there and removing all of the insulation, all the way basically down to the metal of the roof, and then coming back in and building back up that roof accordingly, and then using insulation. And this is what they do when they build up roofs, is slope that insulation so that we can direct the water or any other runoff toward a specific location. And being up on McDonald roof, we do have limited storm drains, and we want to address possibly adding a few more so that we can redirect that water so it's not basically, I'll exaggerate a little bit, but running from one end of the building to the other to a storm drain. We want to address to make sure that we get them in appropriate locations. So when we have that roof off, we can then readdress it, since we'll have the ceilings inside removed and the roof off, to make sure that we can get watershed as well as address our HVAC project at McDonald. So what we're going in is replacing the full roof, full membrane all around McDonald, putting in new sloped insulation, and then readdressing the storm drains accordingly. But this doesn't fall under ESSER 3. It's our normal building fund replacement of roofs. So it's just part of the process. And when we talked at the finance committee, we talked about roof replacement, which is already being built into our budget for the building fund for next year. Did I miss anything, Matt?
That was great.
Okay. Well, I mean, we talked about it, so I wanted to make sure
No,
I
yeah,
didn't miss anything else that
And I
you
think
had asked.
maybe mention this, but I mean, what is it about? You said it's how many year cycle when we usually look at these roofs, and McDonald would have been up.
It's about, well, roof membranes have changed and we can now expand it to about a 15-year recycle. So we can say about 15 years ago, we replaced McDonald roof. And so we're starting that process all over again.
So on the bid, there's 2 roof 5s. I was curious about that.
It could be a typo, but let me quickly look through that. How's that? No, it's actually, let's see.
I think it is, because if you look at the handwritten bid underneath that, it's 1 through 6.
So it's roof number 6 should be instead of roof number 5. And I was just copying it down. I forgot to change that, Joanne.
Okay.
So thank you very much, but we'll be replacing roofs 1 through 6, which is basically the full building in the process.
And did you have other bids or?
No, we did not. We put it out for bid, and part of the process is to being able to service the roofs as well as being able to respond to a roof leak within a certain time frame. And normally we just get weathercraft at this point.
And this will happen over the summer, so it should be done by the time school starts.
Correct. It will be all part of the whole package. I mean, Weathercraft is working with AJ's Roofing to put in the new roof curbs for the new HVAC system. So in that, it sort of is a conjunction where they're already going to be working on removing the ballast, removing the insulation. So they'll be installing the roof curbs, which we say curbs, but it's really the built up where we drop the HVAC equipment right on top. So as they drop that on top, then they'll be removing that roof and then rebuilding back up the roof as each one goes in, so we can make sure that we keep, number one, I think the first and foremost goal is that we want to keep that roof and that building sealed for any moisture that may happen this summer, which we all want moisture, but we don't want it when the roof is open. So
You don't want it in the building.
no. So yes, we're going to be trying to work at doing that.
Any other questions? You just turned it off.
I would move to approve the bid of Weathercraft as presented.
Second.
Sheila?
Emily Garrett,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Lacy,
Aye.
Brandon Reed.
Aye.
Skip Albert.
Aye.
Okay, we have future board calendar, April 17th, we have the Legislative Advocacy Day in Lincoln. We have some things in June and August and October, November. Anything else?
Yep, President Blasey, if the board would consider potentially moving the May board meeting to 5 p.m. instead of 5:30, would you take a look at your calendars and let me know? There is a rather big event in the district that evening that we think is going to start at 7 or 7:30. And that way we can get all the way through our business. So just check your calendars and let me know. But again, that would be the same date for the May board meeting, but instead of a 5:30 start, maybe a 5 p.m. start. Thank you.
Let you know.
All right. Sure. Can I get a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Sheila?
Emily Garrett,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Lacy.
Aye.
Brandon Reed.
Aye.
Skip Albert.
Aye.
Thank you.